when it comes to these live action Disney remakes, people are very, very divisive on these things. So, does the new Little Mermaid sink or swim? All right, The Little Mermaid is the 2023 live action remake of the 1989 classic Disney animated film, The Little Mermaid, obviously. To be honest with you, I don't think that this was something that I would have cared to have seen in live action. But, now that I've gone and now that I've seen it, and I do have to say I did enjoy this film. I think it is enjoyable. Now, a lot of people are going to come into this film thinking, oh, because it's a beat for beat remake of the original, what's the point? This is a pointless movie, so I'm gonna hate it. Okay, let's just slow down a little bit right there. And look, movies should be critiqued and should be looked at kind of as their own thing. Is this pretty much a basic retelling of the animated film? Absolutely, but I do think there's enough here in this remake that would warrant something like this even existing. Like, I feel like they dive a little deeper into the character of Prince Eric. They dive a little deeper, no pun intended, into maybe the relationship between Ursula and King Triton. I think there's a lot more that they explore here. But for everything that they explore and expand upon, which I think is good, they kind of drop the ball on some other things, as is what happens with adaptation. So to just come in and be blindly negative because it is a basically plot point remake of the original animated film is a little rash, to be honest with you. If you're coming in like that, then why are you even bothering in the first place to even check it out if that's how you feel? But to even come out of this movie and say that sort of stuff baffles me a little bit. Judge this on its own merits. Now, look, I'm not saying that by any means this is as good as the original. It's not. But I think in terms of what they do here, I think the story points pretty much, align with the movie. They changed some things around, especially, in the third act. There's set pieces that are a little different from the ending of the original, but they also do exactly what you kind of anticipate. But we'll go into a little bit more of that in a second. But I do want to talk about the acting. And, when Halle Bailey was cast as our Little Mermaid, there was a big uproar, whatever. I think ignorant people are going to be ignorant, and I personally think she was great in the movie. I think she delivers a great performance. I think she's got a heck of a voice, and I thought it was watching Ariel brought to life on screen. That's just me. I really did think she was an enjoyable part of this movie. Melissa McCarthy as Ursula, I thought was pretty good casting. Maybe a little on the nose, but I think she does really good in what she needs to do. And then Javier Bardem as King Triton. I think he was good in this as well. Were they stellar performances? Are these performances that are going to knock your socks off? Maybe not, but I think they were serviceable and enjoyable. The actor who played Prince Eric, Jonah Hauer-King, he was fine. They did add a little more depth and dimension to that character, which I found very fascinating. But I feel like the performance maybe lacked a little bit to be desired. And so that is what it is. And the other big things with this movie, that everybody loves is Sebastian the crab, Flounder the fish, and the seagull, Scuttle. And in this movie, it's not a seagull, it's a different type of bird, which is fine. It makes sense. And they did go the realistic route with these characters, which I think works to an extent, but at the same time, it was a bit of a detriment. But anyway, David Diggs plays Sebastian, Jacob Tremblay plays Flounder, and Awkwafina plays Scuttle. Now, there are decent elements to each of these three performances, and then there's some not so great stuff. I think Tremblay, who does the voice of Flounder, doesn't get as much to do as I feel like there was in the original. Awkwafina as Scuttle I thought was fun, but there is a musical number in particular that I wasn't crazy about. We'll probably have to talk about the musical numbers here in a second. Diggs as Sebastian was another character that had moments where I was like, whatever, I could take or leave this voice acting performance. But then there's certain lines and certain parts where he delivers the line to the point where I was like, okay, I thought that delivery was exactly what we needed. So it is a bit of a mixed bag. I think all the live action, performances work. The voice acting for the three main creatures that we know and love from the original, maybe not as much as we would have hoped. So there's that. The musical numbers. I do want to talk about that. I think, Part of Your World was phenomenal. It was great. Under the Sea was a really good rendition. Not as good as the original, but a good rendition. And then they sprinkle in a bunch of original songs, which, to be honest with you, I don't think they landed. I wasn't really crazy about any of the original songs they added. Specifically, Awkwafina's rap that she does. Boy, oh boy, that was a hard one for me to get through. I was waiting for that whole bit to be done. I was like, this might be the low point of the movie. And when you get to that point, that might be your low point too. We'll see. Everybody's going to be different about that. And then, the song that Ursula does, and I'm blanking on the name at the top of my head, that just shows you how big of a Little Mermaid fan I am. Her song I thought was actually pretty fun as well. Again, not as great as the original, but I thought it served its purpose, and it works in the context of this film. I think if you're a super diehard Little Mermaid fan, you'll probably enjoy this, but go, yeah, it was good, but not as good as the original, which that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with this movie being, it's a good adaptation, maybe not a great adaptation, and it doesn't surpass the original. You always have the original to go back on. That film's not going anywhere. This new film doesn't tarnish the original, so just stop with all that if you're one of those people, because, I just think as far as the Disney adaptations, this wasn't one of their worst. It clearly wasn't one of their best. I don't know. I still think it was an enjoyable time. Definitely peaks and valleys throughout, but overall, I didn't, at the end of the day, go, what was the point of this movie? One thing I think the biggest problem I did have with this movie, though, was maybe the pacing. While the movie is considerably longer than the original film, I do think that there was a point where I just felt like in my guts, I was just like, it feels like the original movie would have ended right here. And you know exactly how much plot is still left to go. And you're just like, man, they're really stretching some of this out. I think there's some stuff they explore that deserve to be explored, for stretching the story out a little bit. But then there's times where I'm just like, I think you could, move this pace up a little quicker, and, it would have worked a lot better. But I do think it gets really slow, and I do think it drags little bit, and you feel it there towards the end of the second act, beginning of the third act, kind of. But other than that, I mean, not a bad film, like I said, but it's definitely not one of the best films you're going to see this year. I mean, everybody's different. Maybe this is your favorite film. As I always say when I give my grade, your results may vary. So take my opinion with a grain of salt. Judge the movie for yourself. As far as a grade, I'm going to be giving this film a B-. Again, not terrible, not great, but I would see this again probably. I wouldn't be upset if you were at a get together and somebody said, I'm going to throw on the live action Little Mermaid. I'd say go ahead. I have no problem with this film. But what do you guys think? Do you plan on seeing The Little Mermaid this weekend? Are you a big Little Mermaid fan? Let me know in the comments down below. And also, guys, if you could please hit that like button, subscribe button, the little bell notification to be notified whenever I drop new videos. It would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, I mean, from here on, the next 2 months are going to be jam-packed with movies. So I'm very excited that I think Little Mermaid, it's kind of almost the kickoff point for a lot of these. I know we've had a few the last couple weeks, but I think this is the big stuff. We're Guardians a couple weeks ago, Fast X last week. So I guess, okay, we're in the middle of a continuous just onslaught of great big movies coming our way. So very excited about that. So until the next review, guys, I'll be seeing you.